Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining Golf Saskatchewan for their annual AGM via Zoom. These are a little bit unprecedented times, but we're going to make it through. We're going to put all people on mute unless you are a speaker. It just helps to cut down on some of the background noise and things like that. If you do want to bring something up and you do want to speak, if you have a computer, you can hit and hold the space bar as if it was a walkie-talkie, just so you can come through. Also, if you want, you can click on, there is a chat feature, and one of our Golf Saskatchewan staff is monitoring the chat and will forward information if we need to. For voting purposes, if you are on video, please raise your hand. If you're in favor or not in favor of a motion, or you can type it in the chat feature, or you can also raise your hand on the chat feature. For the election of the Board of Directors officers, we are going to use a WUFU app, and the people that are able to vote have been forwarded that information. One of the things, one of the things with the form, make sure you put your name on the form in order so we make sure that the people that are actually submitting the forms and voting are the people that are eligible to vote. Following the business portion of the AGM, we have 4 special guests to bring greetings and Q&A. For Q&A, they are from Golf Canada, Lawrence Applebaum, CEO, Charlie Beaulieu, President, Blair Armitage, Western Canadian Membership Rep. And we also have Kirk Westgard from the Government of Saskatchewan's Business Response Team in regards to the COVID-19. So we would like to try and limit, at least during the business part of the meeting today, to things that are just on the agenda. Anything after that for questions for Golf Canada, Golf Saskatchewan, and whoever, we're going to do that after we get the business side done, just to try and save some time. So with that being said, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 10:37. As far as participants go, we did receive pre-registration for 45 clubs represented with 38 delegates, 18 guests, 8 board directors, and 4 staff members. Total number in attendance was supposed to be 92. Right now at the bottom, I do see that there is 80 participants, and I know there are a few people that have doubled up. So according to our bylaws outlined in 7.3, we have met quorum. At this time, we've done it a little bit different. I've got some people to do the first and second approvals. So if I can have a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Don. Seconder?
I second.
Thank you, Jasmine. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next, I will have approval for the 2019 annual general minutes.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Kevin. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Larry. All in favor? Anybody against? Carried. Next on the agenda is I've got a few remarks that I would like to bring forward. I'm not going to go into detail as I have a report in the annual report, so I would just want to summarize a few of the things. The last 2 years have had some ups and downs, especially the last 6 to 8 weeks have been a little interesting, but overall I have found it's been a very positive experience. I would like to thank all of our partners who are listed in the annual report. Without them, we would not be able to provide the services that we do. A very special thanks goes to Sask Sport and Sask Lotteries, as they are one of the biggest funding partners we have. Without their annual contribution, we would find it very difficult to continue to provide all our members with the services that we do. I would like to thank the staff in the office who keep the day-to-day operations running. Brian, Steve, Candace, and Clark have made, I think we've assembled a very good team that have started to work very well together, and they've developed some very good rapport with all our club members and our partners. Going a little farther with our partners, just this past week, there was a group of stakeholders in the province, and we're going to call them, there's a couple of different names that have been floating around, but it's basically the Canadian Society of Club Managers, Golf Saskatchewan, National Golf Course Owners Association of Canada, PGA of Canada Saskatchewan Zone, and the Saskatchewan Turfgrass Association. We met earlier this week just to try and get something off the ground. Somewhat to do with the COVID-19 has brought us together a little bit better. I think it pays to get all these groups together to further the cause for everything. If everybody's talking the same page and looking at the same things, then it's a whole lot better to try and get this game of golf where it needs to go. So lastly, I would like to also thank the board of directors for their support and trust over the last 2 years as being president of this organization. I hope that I've continued to make it stronger and move it in the right direction. Next, I will now ask Todd Bergstresser to speak on the 2019 Golf Saskatchewan audited financial statements.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to go through the financials really quick. Past years, I've always talked about the only thing that the financials are is a story of our operations. Given our difficulties in communicating these days, I think the annual report does a pretty good job of highlighting some of the things that happened last year. So first things first, we did have them audited. Virtus Group signed off that they are accurate and fair and represent our financial position. Secondly, we were within 1% of our total revenues, just short of $930,000, which was actually an increase of approximately $50,000 in revenue. And our expenses came in under budget approximately $30,000. We had budgeted about $960,000 in expenses, and our expenses were just short of $930,000. So overall, we had a $2,400 deficit for 2019. Some of the big increases or decreases, again, revenues, membership went up a little bit, so that's where we retained some of our new revenue. Administration had an increase of approximately 5% or $20,000. Capacity and interaction was down $35,000, and participation in interaction down $7,700 or 7%. And in excellence, we increased that expenditure by approximately $17,000 or 28%. So I guess I'll first allow folks to ask questions before I make my motion to accept as presented. Just go ahead in the chat if you have something. Okay. So I will then motion to accept the financial statements as presented here today.
Can I please get a seconder, please?
I second that.
And your name? Sorry.
Chris Aparicio.
Thank you. As Todd mentioned, if there's no other questions, everybody all in favor? Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, if you can continue, Todd.
And my last piece of business before I sign off, thanks to everybody for the last 8 to 10 years of presenting financials and stuff. This is my last year, so we have some qualified accountants rolling in that will be able to take over the finance position. But happy to report that Virtus Group was, again, wonderful to work with, used technology even before we needed to, and got through everything, understanding our operations and working with the staff. So I'd like to make the motion to nominate or to have Virtus Group be our auditors for next year's financial statements as well.
Can I get somebody to second that, please?
I'll second it for you.
Thank you, Don.
You bet.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. I want to make a couple of comments here. I would personally like to thank Todd Burke-Stresser for all the work he has done for our organization over the last 9 years as a board member. He has helped. He's helped Brian and the staff get our financials, our financial reports, and our financial reporting structure, and streamlined it very efficiently. And he's been very instrumental within our organization from a strategic planning point of view, and making sure that we're in the right place that way. So from me, and I believe all the board will agree that thank you very much, Todd, for all your work for our organization. Okay, next on the agenda is we've got some bylaw amendments that we need to take care of. So I would ask for Richard Smith to present these changes.
Some of these amendments are of a housekeeping nature. If we scroll down here to the first one, which is 2.1.4, this is a wording change where the new World Handicap System, which has just come in, along with the document that's now called the Rules of Handicapping, which replaces our former national system of handicapping and also replaces our old, what we call the handicap manual. So 2.1.4 and 2.1.5 are both just wording changes to reflect the fact that we now have a new and improved system of handicapping in place, not just in Canada, but throughout the world. I guess just as I go down this, if you have a question about any of the proposed changes, maybe use the chat to relay those questions, and that can be relayed to me so that I can answer the questions, assuming I'm able to. Okay, 3.2.4 is the next change. And again, that's simply a change to recognize the fact that we are now under the World Handicap System as opposed to the former Golf Canada Handicap Manual. 3.4, the ability of the association through the board to create special membership categories. We're inserting there in consultation with Golf Canada, because we are, of course, in things that we do, we are collaborative with Golf Canada all the way along. So this is just to reflect that and recognize that in the bylaws. 5.5, This is something that we should have changed a few years ago, but it just sort of slipped by through the crack. For those of you that are relative newcomers to Golf Saskatchewan, we at one time had 2 vice presidents as part of our executive officers. And then when we changed over, we decided that we would go to having only 1 vice president, and we added the treasurer position to the executive. But we forgot that in order to protect the ability for the vice president to advance through the organization, we had previously had 4 consecutive 1-year terms, the idea being that the second vice president would be there for 2 years as second vice president, and then 2 years as first vice president before succeeding to the presidency. Well, once we only had 1 vice president, that 4 terms should have been changed to 2 back then. So this is just catching up on something that we should have done when we first made that change in the structure of the officers. 7.5.1, this is just to clarify in the grouping of numbers of individual members. It doesn't change the intent in any way. It just is just for clarity that that's what we're talking about here. And I think that's it. Nobody stopped me with questions, so I guess that's been straightforward enough.
Oh, hello. This is Judy Hughes from York Lake Golf and Country Club. It was hard getting unmuted, so I can see why it took Richard a while to get on. I did have a comment on 5.5, and in regards to that, is that many organizations now elect, not necessarily golf organizations. I'm not familiar with a lot of golf organization bylaws, but like over the years now, it's been changed. There's usually electing people for at least a 2-year term, and I'm wondering about this because it seems that every year we have to elect a president, we have to elect a vice president, and the other board of directors. I'm wondering about considering the election of having a president when the candidate who runs for president, that the position is for 2 years instead of just a 1-year term. It seems like we do a lot of work having elections every year, and a lot of times we do elect the same person because they're doing a wonderful job, but this still also gives other people the opportunity to run for election if they want to. It's just, I think maybe having more consistency and continuity, if there's at least a minimum 2-year term for like at least the president of the organization. Thank you.
Well, I guess as a past president, I'll answer that. There's a couple of reasons why we've always done it with consecutive 1-year terms. Well, at one time, going way back, I guess it wasn't even common for it to be 2 years, but really in probably 99.9% of the cases, the election of officers in, let's call it the midterm, middle of a 2-year term is pretty much an automatic thing. It takes probably no more than 5 or 10 minutes. Now, the officers are elected by the directors in their organizational meeting. So it's not like a lot of people are involved here in terms of the time that has to be spent. But it also does provide that if somebody's circumstances change and they choose not to run for the second term, it doesn't make it look like they've quit on us or anything like that. It just that they've chosen not to seek the second term. So that's sort of some of the background. Now, certainly that that's something that the incoming board could take under consideration and decide whether they wanted to come forward with a further amendment next year.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, Richard, if you want to move that motion forward.
Okay. I would move the adoption of the changes incorporated into the draft amendments.
Can I get a seconder, please?
I'll second that. Gord Osmondson.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right. Next on our agenda is the election of officers. We are going to give each individual that's speak up to 3 minutes for why they want to be on our board and that. So the nominations have been received to fill 3 positions for the term of 3 years. So I'm just going to read through the nominations. They're in alphabetical order, and then I'll ask each one individually. The nominees are Drew Bolin from Weyburn Golf and Country Club, or Golf Club, Elaine Kranick, a public player, Danny Klukart, Cook Municipal, Don Kunkel, Deer Park Municipal in Yorkton, Clinton Schmaltz, PGA of Saskatchewan Willows, and Teddy Weens from, I've got conflicting stories, so I'll let him let you know where he's from because I've got 2 different places that listed right now. So I will ask Drew if he wants to speak for a few minutes.
Sure. First off, thank you to everyone. I know Delbert had told me I'll give you a little bit of the background, which will be a little wild and all over the place, and then I'll kind of get into why I'd like to be on the board. So first and foremost, I guess I'm born and raised in Dallas. Was a GM for the past 7 years at a couple public courses in Dallas-Fort Worth. My wife is from Regina, so this has been the home away from home for me for about 10 years. So unfortunately, I always came in the wintertime and the holidays to see family and never got to play a lot of golf here in the summer, which doesn't make any sense, but we decided to make the move back to Saskatchewan last summer. So I've been sitting in Regina this winter, kind of getting acclimated, and was lucky enough to have the chance to land out here at Weyburn and get involved. And that's kind of why I know it's kind of a smaller club from my background and just in general that I wanted to get involved and do as much as I can in the golf community. And that's kind of why I threw my name in the hat. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's kind of the roundabout story of how I landed here. And, it's been home, but not home originally.
Thank you, Drew. Next, I will ask for Elaine Kranick. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly.
Close enough. I'm sure I've been called worse at some point in my life, so that's all good. My name is Elaine Kranick. I am in Saskatoon, right in the city here. I play the majority of my golf at Moon Lake Golf and Country Club, but I am a public player and enjoy playing courses all across the province. My journey with Golf Saskatchewan actually started in Weyburn, in the southern part. I might have been born in Weyburn, but I was definitely raised on the Weyburn golf course. Drew, if you have any questions about any of the greens, I could give you a ton of insight. So don't go long on 16. That's the first one I'll leave you with. I played my junior golf career in Weyburn, playing on the Order of Merit at the time, and representing Saskatchewan at the Canadian Junior Girls Championship. I moved to Saskatoon for university, which is where I began getting involved in the career world of sport, starting with the Saskatoon Blades. So after I finished my commerce degree from Edwards School of Business, I continued working with the Blades, and then moved into a facility management role with a sales partnership and marketing focus. And now I'm a founding team member of a sport tech startup located in Saskatoon, actually, but being used with sports organizations all across North America. So that's a little bit about my career background in sport and my involvement in Golf Saskatchewan. I got reacquainted with the Golf Sask world last year in Kenosi at the Mixed Championship. After leaving, I just had a fire in my belly to get involved again and recognize that over the years I've developed a skill set in strategic planning, partnerships, sport-specific event management. My board experience plays in nicely, and just my overall general passion for golf. I know what a pillar in our community golf is, and I don't think that I need to say that to anyone on the call, but I would just really like to be a part of growing that pillar in our community, especially now through challenging times. And I think that I have a skill set and a passion that plays in quite nicely for that. So that's why I presented my name, and I hopefully can look forward to helping the province and the golf courses within it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, next on the docket is Danny Klukart from Prince Albert.
So yeah, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Danny Kluhart. I served a one-year term on the board in 2019. I'm a member at Cook Municipal Golf Course. I'm an active competitive golfer on the Golf Sask Order of Merit Tour, have been for several years. Throughout the years on this tour, I've developed many strong relationships with amateurs around the province, CPGA of Sask professionals, and other golf course executives. I believe by diversifying the board with amateur players, CPGA professionals, and golf course executives, it's going to allow us to bring different views to the board and help ensure our goals are in line with our stakeholders. Aside from my golf experience, I have several years of experience in the finance and accounting industry. I'm a current CPA student, and I'm working in public accounting. My focus is small business advisory, personal and corporate tax, and not-for-profit assurance work, so I do have some experience doing that. With Todd stepping down, I would be willing to take over as treasurer if the board sees that as a good fit, so that is that. Why Golf Saskatchewan for volunteering? Just been an organization that's meant a lot to me for my whole life. They've supported me throughout my competitive golf career through scholarships, player development camps, and subsidies to attend national championships. And without Golf Saskatchewan, I wouldn't be the player I am today. So yeah, I learned a lot over the past year with the board, and really enjoyed working with people that share the same passion for golf and growing golf in Saskatchewan that I do. So yeah, thanks for consideration for appointment, and good luck to everyone.
Thanks, Danny. Next is Don Kunkel from Yorkton.
First of all, welcome everybody, and thank you for taking the time to tune in today. This is a huge turnout for an AGM. It's probably the biggest one I've been involved with, and it's really good to see it happening. For those of you that aren't aware, I'm very much involved with golf in Yorkton because I not only play the game, but I also look after the food and beverage services at Deer Park. So for all you operators and owners out there, I know your pain because they're not opening me up for a while yet either. I want to thank all our board members for the past year. Todd, you did a wonderful job as our treasurer for the last several years, and appreciate everything you've done for us. Delbert, as our president, you did a great job too, and we appreciate that. And I think that Brian, you and your team have done a very good job also. And I thank you all for that. For those of you that don't know me, I started playing this game when I was 7 years old. And I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but it's a lot. I studied under the late Bill Turnbull. He was my golf pro. I worked for him for about 9 years in the pro shop. As a player, I was fairly competitive. Now it's all up to senior golf now, and I'm not that competitive anymore, but I still enjoy the game. From a volunteer and experience point of view, I've been a director on 9 different organizations. I've been president on 5 of them. including president of Saskatoon Minor Hockey 1 year and the director of Saskatchewan Hockey. I got involved with golf simply because it was time for me to give back to golf. Some of my volunteer stuff, I've been involved with World Junior Hockey Championships, Canadian Figure Skating Championships, numerous golf championships in the province, and probably the highlight was chairing the Canadian Junior Girls Golf Championship here in Deer Park in 2016. I'm the current Vice President of Golf Saskatchewan. I would like to continue on. This would be my third and final term if you re-elect me. Been involved in course rating, been the handicap chair here at Deer Park. I've done my level 2 rules simply for my knowledge, not so much that I ever want to get involved in doing rules. And I've been involved with a little bit on the national level through the provincial council. If you re-elect me, I expect that I will apply all my abilities to the job. I think I have a full understanding of how severe this COVID-19 is. We also know as a board that a lot of the courses and a lot of the members out there are going through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I would hope that I would be able to share some good guidance there and move things forward. I think I'm a good team player. I'm kind of a hard ass sometimes, but sometimes you have to make tough decisions and you have to move ahead. We all love this game passionately. That's why we're all here today. And appreciate you all being here. And I hope you'll support me in my re-election. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Don. Next that will be speaking will be Clinton Schmaltz from PGA of Saskatchewan and the Willows Golf and Country Club.
Hello. Excuse me. Hello, everybody. My name is Clinton Schmaltz. I'm the Director of Instruction at the Willows Golf Club. I've been a member of the PGA of Canada since 1993. In this time, I've had the privilege of working at some of the premier clubs in all of Canada, one of them boasting 6 Canadian Golf Hall of Fame members. I have been a head professional, a playing professional, and a teaching professional. My passion, energy, and expertise lies in teaching golfers of all abilities to become better players. Teaching golf is my only job. Because of the pandemic, we as an industry are going to face some challenges. I have expertise in teaching and coaching golf, so my main focus, once we get back to our new normal, will be continue to make players better. My reason for applying for this post is I feel like I could absolutely help in the areas of competitive golf, high performance golf, and logistics. Some good steps are being taken, and I feel strongly that there is a need to keep enhancing our programs to become competitive at a national level. That would hopefully include a men's and women's golf team at the University of Saskatchewan sooner than later. I could also help serve as a conduit of communication between the PGA and the amateur body here provincially. Everyone here is passionate about golf. I am as well, so much so that it's my only job. I help to make people play better golf. If they play better, they play more. If they play more, we all succeed. I hope I can get onto this board. Thanks.
Thanks, Clinton. And finally, we have Teddy Weens.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Teddy Weens, out of Regina. A little bit of confusion on where I play my golf out of. It kind of less in my head too right now. Most of my golf in my life is out of the Wascana, but there's also been a couple stints at Deer Valley that are hard to ignore. I love it out there. A little bit about me. I finished my accounting degree at the University of Saskatchewan last June and have transitioned into the professional world, working at KPMG in both their advisory audit practices, primarily focusing on risk consulting. I think that type of work has translated well into my development as a person who could be on a board and help the growth and identity of Golf Saskatchewan. Like everyone here has mentioned, passion is what brought us into throwing our names in the ring for joining the board. I've seen both as a player on the Order of Merit Tour and the relationships that you can make out there, that golf just is a wonderful thing that so many people enjoy, and we're so lucky to have the courses in the game we do in this province. And I think there's an opportunity to capitalize on that, while also recognizing that there is a market of people who want to expand into the game, both as young professionals and families and kids. And we need to recognize that and provide opportunities to help the game grow. And ultimately, that is what my goal is if I'm elected to the board. Not too much else about me. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking their time to be here, and stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you, Teddy. So this brings us to the conclusion of for our nominees for our board of directors. The people that do have voting rights have received a form from Golf Saskatchewan in order to fill out and submit your votes. Usually, we usually take a recess here, tabulate the votes, and bring back the results. But with this being a little bit different than our normal meeting, what we are going to do is we're going to leave the voting open for a little while. If you can vote as soon as you can, but what we'll do is our staff members are going to tabulate our votes for us. We're going to, I'm going to probably adjourn the meeting shortly, but then what we'll do is while they're tabulating the results, we're going to do our guest greetings and everything, and go into some of the question and answers. If we get the results done by the time before the meeting wraps up this morning, we will announce the names of the new board members, and then those board members will meet, and we will elect a president and a treasurer for our executive, and we will forward all that information out to the members after that. So does anybody else have anything that they would like to say in regards to our AGM today before I make my motion to adjourn?
Just want to thank you guys for taking the effort to learn how to master Zoom and have everybody on. I think it's great that we have such a large group today. As was mentioned, it's probably one of the largest ever. So thanks to everybody that had a hand in putting everything together this morning.
Thanks, Chris. Well, if there's no other questions in regards to that, I am going to make a motion to adjourn the business portion of the meeting at 11:16 a.m. Thank you, everybody.